Hello everybody out there in the bookverse, it's Stephanie, and today I am back with an update on where I am at with my series. I made a few videos, I think it was last year, about the series that I am in the middle of, behind on, all those things, and so I am going to give you an updated one this year. And I don't think it's gotten better, and it might have potentially gotten worse. It might have gotten worse. So I try to keep my series updated in a spreadsheet on my computer. So I am going to start out talking in this video about all the series that I am behind on. So these are the series that have more books out in the series that I have not read. There are going to be future videos about series that I am caught up on, meaning there are going to be more books, but they're not out yet. And then another video about series that I DNF'd from a bunch of the series that were on the list from last year that I've just decided I'm not going to keep reading. And then I'm also going to be doing a video of the series that I finished and started in 2022 in particular. I know it's March, practically April. Oh my gosh, it is actually April at this point. But we're going to do it anyways, and it's going to be fun. So we're going to start with series that I'm behind on, and I have my spreadsheet here, and I'm going to start talking about the series that I don't own because otherwise I'm going to forget to talk about them. So I have a stack of the ones that I own here. It's large. It's actually multiple stacks, so it doesn't fall over. And then I have my spreadsheet that we're going to start on. So the first series is Crown of Feathers by Nikki Palpretto. This is a YA fantasy series. It starts out with this girl who wants to become a phoenix writer, and she and her sister steal some phoenix eggs in order to hatch them and bond with them and become phoenix writers. And I have read the first and second book in that series, and I still have not read the third one. I'm not super invested in it, honestly. It's not something that's really gripping me and calling to me to go finish, but I do only have one book left in a trilogy, so I am planning on finishing this one out. It's one I'm on the fence on, and if I haven't finished it by the end of this year, maybe I will just DNF the series, but at this point, I am still thinking that I will finish it since I only have one book left. And the final book in the series is Wings of Shadow. Next series is the Binti series, and I'm pretty sure this is just a trilogy of novellas. I have read the first two books in the series. It's by Nadia Korafor, by the way. I've read the first two books in this series, and I thought they were okay. I'm not super invested in it. I feel like this world is a little bit too complex for novellas, and I'm not getting as much as I want, particularly because it has a lot of politics involved and a different species and a lot of like interplanetary and within planetary politics going on. I just feel like I'm not getting enough from it as novellas, so I will probably finish it because it's nice to fit novellas onto like readathon TBRs and stuff, but it's not one that I'm super invested in. Next, we have Lightfall by Tim Probert. Honestly, I absolutely loved this graphic novel when I first read it. This is a middle grade graphic novel series. The second book in this series is out. I don't know how many there are going to be, but I have only read the first. I read it during a readathon quite a while ago and absolutely adored it. I thought it was so good, so cute, sweet. I love the art style. I just was very much invested in this, and I do plan on continuing. I just feel like I'm probably going to get it from my library, and I just haven't gotten around to it yet. Next, we have the Plated Prisoner series by Raven Kennedy. I have read the first book in the series and started the second one, and I just haven't finished the second one. This is an adult fantasy romance series, kind of a King Midas retelling of this girl who is gold touched and kept in the king's palace kind of as his, I guess you could call him his pet. She's just pretty much owned by him and she can't leave. And I was not super invested in the first one. I have heard it gets better though. So I started the second one when I was on vacation in Switzerland last year, and I just didn't continue it. It got pushed to the side for other books while I was on the trip, and then when I got back, I just didn't finish it. I do have all of the books but one on my Kindle right now because they were on Kindle Unlimited and I had them on my Kindle when they were taken off. I don't know if they've been put back on, sorry, but I am pretty sure that the final one in that series is coming out this year. So I do want to finish it. I think it's probably going to be one that I kind of am in the mood for, probably on vacation. I feel like these fantasy romances are great for vacation reads, so this one I am definitely planning on finishing. The next series, I don't necessarily know if I need to continue. It feels more like a companion novel series, and that's the Wayfarer series by Becky Chambers. The first one was A Long Way to a Small Angry Planet, which I read and I did quite enjoy. I didn't feel extremely invested in it though. I feel like it was very character focused and I did really enjoy that, and it had a lot of great character work in there, but I just didn't really care all that much. Honestly, it was a good book. I did enjoy it, and I do think I will probably continue it at some point. I'm just not in any kind of rush because the last book didn't really leave off in a place where I felt like I really needed to read the next one. So this one will happen at some point. This is a sci-fi series, and it just kind of focuses on this group of people that were living on this ship, fulfilling a mission. And I did enjoy it, but yeah, it's just not something that I desperately need to get back to. And the final, for the ones that I don't own, so I can finally put this down, is Lore Olympus by Rachel Smith. I'm not quite positive how to say her name. This is a graphic novel series, and it started on Webtoons, and I did actually read it the first time on Webtoons. I think I was up to about where I was in the middle of the second volume on Webtoons when I decided to switch over to getting the books out of my library to read them because they have now been published. This is just a like Hades and Persephone retelling in graphic novel format. I really do like the art style of this. I think it's an interesting story, but I've only read the first 2 volumes, and the second volume was just kind of weird how it was talking about their like 2,000-year age difference, and she's 19. It feels icky to me. I don't know. I feel like they focused on it quite a bit, and she is 19, and I do feel like that significant of an age gap when she's literally a teenager is a little bit uncomfortable for me, so I am just not positive I am going to be continuing. I know that in a lot of books they have these age gaps, but I feel like in this one they really focused on it, and I think I can kind of forget about it sometimes when they forget about it, but this one didn't as much. So I don't know. We'll see if I do continue on with that one. Right now I'm planning on it because, again, it's really good for readathons, but I don't know. I'm not as invested after the second one. Okay, now let's get into books that I do own. Oh, this series. It's a little bit ridiculous. It's a little bit embarrassing, the Wheel of Time series. This is the 11th book. This is the only one I could find, but I am actually on the 5th book, Fires of Heaven. I don't actually own that one, but I own the 11th one. Don't ask. I actually don't know why, but I seriously started this series probably 2 years ago, something like that. I've had the 5th book audiobook on hold at my library for over a year, and I still have not read it. I just keep like passing it on to the next person every time my time comes up. This series has like 15 books. Let me look. Yeah, 15 books in the series. So this is a huge commitment, but I've already read 4. I like them fine. I just don't love them like a lot of people do, and I feel like 15 books is a lot, but I do want to finish this because I want to read the books that Brandon Sanderson wrote in this, because I absolutely love Brandon Sanderson and would like to read at least all of his like adult high fantasy. This is an adult high fantasy series. It does feel very much like the classic setup of an adult high fantasy series. You have the chosen one trope, you have like prophecies and all these things, and I do quite enjoy it. I just don't absolutely love it, and it's really long. Okay, I'm probably gonna need to speed up talking about these series, but next I have Seasonal Fears is the next one in the series by the Middle Game series by Shannon McGuire. I've read Middle Game. I did quite enjoy it. I didn't know that it was going to have a sequel, so I do own it now, Seasonal Fears. This is the second one. I have no idea if another one's going to come out, but this is, again, an adult urban fantasy series of these twins that were kind of made to become gods-esque. I am intrigued by it. It is very different, but I really do enjoy it, so I am going to be continuing with this. Next, we have the Zodiac Academy series. I have read the first 2 books in the series. Right now, I think 9 books are out, but I think, or 8 books are out, and there is going to be a 9th. I've read the first 2, like I said. This is an adult fantasy romance series, heavily bully romance. The first book was like not even romance. Don't break this. This is the special edition from the Bookish Box. I like it enough. Like, honestly, I don't think it's good or well written, but I want to keep reading it because I want to see what happens. This one definitely will be finished. I just have no idea when. This next series I started so long ago, and that is the Darker Shade of Magic series by V.E. Schwab. Sorry, it doesn't have the cover on it because it was right up there. But I have only read the first book and I did enjoy it. I thought it was really good, interesting. It has these parallel Londons and people who can travel between them and kind of like these dying Londons. And I think it was really fun, really interesting. But again, I don't really know where we're going to go from here. And I hear people say that the first and the third one are good, second one's not as good. And I've been putting it off forever. I probably should reread the first one before I read the second one at this point, but y'all know me and I probably won't. The next series I have is Dune by Frank Herbert. I honestly read this book so quickly and didn't really focus on it. I didn't really get as much out of it as I really should have for how much was going on in here. I would definitely need to reread this book if I did end up continuing on with this series. I just don't know how much I want to. I am not that invested in it. I wasn't super gripped in this one, at least the first time reading it through. This is an adult sci-fi series and it was made into a movie. Maybe I'll just watch the movie. I don't know. We'll see. Next series I would definitely need to reread it when I'm going to continue on with it, and that is the Witcher series. Wow, I can't talk. The Witcher series. This is the new covers that have come out, which I actually really do enjoy, and I'm going to collect the whole series in these covers. This is an adult high fantasy series, and this follows a kind of monster hunter who is a witcher. And honestly, I enjoyed the short story collections quite a bit. I thought they were very interesting and I was intrigued. And then in the first book, I felt like we kind of were pulled away from some of our main characters that we really loved, and they didn't get as much of a prominent role. And I felt like it was almost like an info dump of politics, which I do not enjoy in books. I like my politics to kind of be given to me in a more natural way rather than here, we're sitting in on this council meeting and we're just going to dump it all on you. So I will continue on with this series, but I will definitely need to reread. And I think I'm going to do it with one of my friends who also is planning on like reading this series. So I'll have to start over and then we can read the whole thing. Next series is the Murderbot series by Martha Wells. I have read the first 4 novellas in the series, and now I am on Network Effect, which is the first actual novel-length book in the series. This is an adult sci-fi series that follows it's not really an AI, kind of an AI. I don't really know what they are, but it follows Murderbot, who is supposed to be kind of a protector of people taken along as almost a bodyguard in situations, but they don't really want to. They just want to watch their soap operas. I find it very interesting and entertaining. I think the humor is really funny, and so I do enjoy these a lot. I definitely am going to be continuing. I just kind of don't know, again, when I'm going to do it. This is a pattern. This next one I really need to get to soon, and that is Call of the Bone Ships by R.J. Barker. This is the second book in, what is the name of this? The Tide Child Trilogy. And actually the Broken Binding is going to be coming out with special editions of this series, which I think is really exciting. So I do want to finish it. I did quite enjoy the first one. This is an adult fantasy series that is very nautical and set at sea, and they have these kind of water dragons that are very prominent parts of this. I did actually quite enjoy the first book. I read it really quickly, which I think helped me to enjoy it more. I was intrigued by things. I didn't love many of our characters. There was one side character that I really was intrigued by and engaged in their story, but overall I feel like the characters were a little bit lacking for me in this series. I do definitely want to continue with it though, and I need to do it sooner rather than later so I don't forget everything. This next one is just a duology, so I don't know why I haven't finished it out, but that is the Malice series by Heather Walter. I just have the second book, Mist Rule, left to read. This is a retelling of Sleeping Beauty. It is sapphic, and Maleficent actually has a backstory, is our main character, and so her name isn't Maleficent, it's named Alice, but that is her character. And the first book ended in a way that I really was not expecting. It was quite intriguing. I am very interested to see where we go with the rest of the series because of how that first one ended. Sorry, the wind outside is extremely loud right now. But I definitely do want to continue on with this. It's a romance series. It's interesting. It's easy to read. I'm not in love with it, but I do quite enjoy it, so I would like to finish it. The next one I am just one book behind on, and that is Ninth House, the Alex Stern series by Leigh Bardugo. This is the second book, Hellbent. I absolutely adored Ninth House. I thought it was so good. It is an urban fantasy, dark academia, murder mystery. We have ghosts. We have a girl who can see ghosts, and I am just very much invested in the story. I really, really enjoyed it. I liked the atmosphere, and I thought it was a lot of fun, so I'm really interested to see where this one goes. There is a character in the first one where I'm really hoping it's going to feature prominently in this one, so I have no idea why I haven't read it yet. I feel like it has just been put off, and I really need to get to it because I love the first one, but this is the second one and the only other one that's out in this series, and I don't know how many books there will be. This one is kind of a sequel, kind of a companion novel, and that is The Hidden Palace by Helene Wecker. This is the sequel to The Golem and the Genie. I read The Golem and the Genie a few years ago and absolutely adored it. It is beautiful. It's a historical urban fantasy, and it follows a golem and a genie who have been brought over to the Americas in, I think, like the 1910s. And I just thought it was beautifully written. I love the atmosphere. I love the connections to like their lands where they were from and that kind of culture brought in here, and I just think it's so good, and I'm really hoping that this is going to hold up. I'm a little bit worried that it won't be as good and it will kind of taint The Golem and the Genie for me. I'm really hoping that won't happen, but I definitely am planning on reading this one this year. It has to happen. Another urban fantasy dark academia series that I absolutely loved and still have not continued is the Atlas series by Cassidy Blake. The first one is the Atlas 6. The second one is the Atlas Paradox, and I really, really liked the Atlas 6. I thought it was so much fun. I liked the character work. I liked the atmosphere. I felt like we could have gotten more magic, but I'm really hoping that's what we will get in here. I think there were some great twists, and I think it didn't shy away from getting fairly dark. So I am very excited to see what she does with this one. I honestly feel like I put this on my TBR at the very beginning of the year and I still haven't read it. And it's one of those where it's a sequel that I'm so much looking forward to, and I don't know why I haven't actually picked it up. I don't know how many books are going to be in this series, but only 2 are out right now. I feel like we're really in a chunk of series that I love and have just been putting off, because the next one, if you can guess it, is The Faithful and the Fallen series by John Gwynne. This is a 4-book adult high fantasy Norse-inspired series that has a lot of POVs, lots of politics, magic, prophecies, like background world building. I love it so much. I adored the first 2 books in the series, and here we are. The 3rd book, I am halfway through, and I just quit reading it. I think it was on a TBR that I didn't finish, and so I stopped reading that TBR and moved on to the next one, and this one just got left behind, which I'm really sad about because I really, really love this series. I love these characters, and I want to see what's going to happen, but I think I'll probably have to restart this book at this point, and then I'll have one more after this to finish. This series does have a sequel trilogy that comes after it as well that I am planning on reading too. Oh, this next series, again, I loved the first book. It was one of my favorite books of the year when I read it, and I still haven't read the sequel. That is the, Silent Gods series by Justin T. Call. The first book is Master of Sorrows. This book is Master Artificer. I loved the first book, and I was so excited. I honestly got this the day it came out from the bookstore. It just happened to be an awesome, signed and dated version, and I was so excited to start it, and then I just didn't. And then I had plans to start it, so I reread the first one, and I didn't move on to this one. And I don't know what my problem is, because I love this series. It's an adult high fantasy. It's set at this magical university, which I don't know if we're going to move from there, but it has trials you have to go through, and it has a prophecy again. It has a lot of background of the gods of this world, which I absolutely love, and I need to move on with this series because it's so good. And I don't know how long it's going to be, though. I think that's part of my problem is it's not completed, and I think it's going to be quite long, and only 2 books are out right now. I still think I'm going to read this one this year, and then as more books come out, I might put off continuing on, and because I'm probably going to have to reread. This next series I am very much making headway on. I am quite proud of myself. This is about the only one that I can say that of, and that is the Throne of Glass series by Sarah J. Maas. I have read all the way up to Empire of Storms. I have read Tower of Dawn. I read it before Empire of Storms, which I know Sarah J. Maas girlies are going to come at me for this, but I just have Empire of Storms and Kingdom of Ash left, so I only have 2 books, and I'm definitely going to be finishing this series this year. This is a YA fantasy series that follows an assassin. This has fae and a lot of politics going on in this world, but it is, I feel, very heavily a romance series. It has a lot of romances going on, and those tend to be a huge focus even with these times of, you know, almost the end of the world. So I like it. I'm not in love with it like a lot of people are, but I do enjoy it. I think it's fun. It's easy to get into, easy to read. I feel like these books would be absolutely perfect for vacation as well. They're really easily digestible. It doesn't take a whole ton of brain power. You can just get into the world and enjoy it. So yes, definitely going to be finishing this series this year. Only 2 books left out of, I think, 8, I think. Next series, I have made slow progress with this one, and that is The Belgariad by David Eddings. I have read the first 2 books in the series, and there are 5. As far as everyone says, there are 5 in this like original series, but then there are other companion books or spin-off books that I can read as well. For the purposes of this video, we are focusing on this series, and now I am on the 3rd book, which is Magician's Gambit. This is a bind-up of the... Oh. Sorry, my hair. This is a bind-up of the first 3 books in that, and it looks like it wouldn't be that long, but this actually takes quite a while. I feel like if I read this whole thing through, it'd be like 30 hours. I don't know why it is such a slow read, but honestly, the first book I was not super invested in, and I wasn't quite as engaged, but I feel like the second one really did improve, and I am a lot more invested in this world, in the politics, and what's going on. We very much broadened it, and we pulled in a lot of other characters that I think are interesting, and other like races, and so overall I do enjoy the series. I am definitely going to be continuing it, and this is a series that I do plan on finishing this year. The only graphic novel series on this list is The Sandman by Neil Gaiman. I have only read the first book in this series, or first volume, whatever you call it. This is an adult urban fantasy graphic novel series that has a lot of very like mythic creatures like death and dream and things like that. I do quite enjoy it. I think it is so well written. I don't like the art style, but I absolutely love the story and the way it is told. I think it is beautiful. It's amazing. It's so engaging to me, and I really, really enjoy just living in this world. So I am definitely planning on continuing it, and I feel like I need to reread this one and then just binge through the series. That's what I need to do. I don't think I can leave too much time in between these books. I've struggled. It is really long. I actually don't know how many volumes there are. I think we're up in the teens. Let me see. Just kidding. I think only 10 volumes are out. I don't know if there will be more, but this is 100% a series I'm going to continue. This is an amazing graphic novel series. I'm really, really enjoying it so far. This next series I just recently read for a readathon. I read the first book of it. So this is the Mage Errant series. The first book is Into the Labyrinth by John Bierce. They are regular length novels, but they are quite short, so they're easy to get through. I think this series has 6 books out right now. I have only read the first, and so I would need to move on to the second. I think they changed the covers though. When I went on to Amazon to look this up, this cover is no longer available. I bought it years ago and just never read it. I am definitely going to continue with it. I am invested in it. I think this is kind of a mid-series for me, but it does have the magical school setting, which I absolutely love, plus like trials that they have to go through, which again, I love. So very interested to continue with it, see where it goes. I think it has a lot of potential, and it could like definitely improve as we went through more books. Next series, I am going to continue with it because I really, really enjoyed the first one, but I really think I would need to reread the first one because it's been like a year plus since I read it. And that is the, oh, what's the name of the series? No, it has a name. Shadows of the Apt. This is the Shadows of the Apt series. The first book is Empire in Black and Gold by Adrian Tchaikovsky, and I am very much planning on finishing the series because the first one was so much fun. It was really entertaining and I just enjoyed myself while I was reading it. I liked the characters. The world was a little odd at first and took me a while to get invested in, but the more I was in it, because these people are like bugs. You see, when I say it, it sounds very uninteresting, but as you get into it and read it, you will like learn to enjoy that. And so I actually really loved this book a lot and I want to continue with it. I think the world is really interesting and some of the twists or new things that we learned, I am very intrigued by. So definitely want to continue with the series. If I do soon, I probably don't have to reread the first one, but if I wait, well, even a few months, I probably am going to have to reread, which is honestly probably going to be the way we go. I think this series has 5 books. The series has 10 books. What? I don't know if it actually has 10 books. I feel like it has 2 different arcs and maybe one has 5 and one has 5. I will put something down here that lets you know because I can't remember, but I'm pretty sure that it's not 10 books long when I first started it. I don't know. Next is a novella series that I did quite enjoy. That is the Singing Hills series. The first one is The Empress of Salt and Fortune by Niveau. I really did enjoy this first one. This first one was my favorite so far. I have read the first 2 books. There is a third one out that I have not read yet, and I don't know if there's going to be more coming. I think so, but I'm not positive. They are all novellas. They are Asian inspired from Asian folklore, and I really loved this first one. It was just very beautifully told. I love the parts in the past the best, and they kind of follow the same character, but they are very much different stories. You don't have to read them in the right order, at least the first 2, and if you read the first one, you don't have to continue on. So they're kind of a series of companion novellas, and I do quite enjoy them, and they're nice to fit onto readathons. This next series, I have actually done a very good job of keeping up with it as new books come out, and that is the Wayward Children's series by Shauna McGuire. There are 5, oh my gosh. There are 8 books out in this series so far. I have read the first 7, and I haven't read the most recent one. It did just come out not that long ago, so that's why I haven't gotten to it, but I definitely will. These are great to fit onto readathons. These are portal fantasies, so they are children who have gone through a portal, come back, and then their experiences coming back to our world. I really love the covers of all the books in the series. I think they're absolutely beautiful, and that is what first drew me to these books. I enjoy them. I think they're good. I'm not absolutely in love with them, but I will own all the books in the series just because they're so pretty. This next is a middle grade series that I read the first 2 books in, and all I have left is the third, and that is the Cassidy Blake series by Victoria Schwab. I honestly think this is the only I have 2 middle grade series on this list, and this is one of them. I only have 1 book left, and I feel like I keep saying I'm going to save it for a readathon, and it just never gets picked. I think I just need to read it. I do like this series fine. It's nothing like groundbreaking or anything like that. It's this girl who can see ghosts, and her parents do kind of these documentaries on these haunted cities, and so we're moving from city to city with her while she goes with her parents, and I do like it. I think it's cute and it's entertaining, but it's just not one that I'm super invested in, so I need to finish. I will finish it though. This next one I think has been years since I read the first 2, and it's only a trilogy, and I've read the first 2, and it's a YA fantasy series that is extremely easy to read, and that is the Winners Trilogy. The first one is the Winner's Curse. The one I am on would be the third one, which is the Winner's Kiss by Marie Rutkowski. I might have said that quite bad. This is a YA fantasy series that doesn't have magic in it. It's just set in a world different than ours. It's an enemies to lovers kind of story. This is definitely very romance heavy on it, and I thought it was fairly interesting. I am going to be continuing because I only have 1 book left, and it is interesting, but it's not one that I'm like absolutely gripped by. I am not super engaged in this story, and honestly haven't really thought about it since I finished the first 2. But again, I do want to see how it ends. I want to see how this all wraps up, and it is very easy to read. The only other middle grade series on this is the Keeper of the Lost Cities series by Shannon Messenger. This is a middle grade series that follows a girl who finds out that she is an elf and has many magical abilities and powers and secrets locked in her mind. I have been fairly entertained by this series. I feel like it has its ups and downs. I think these books are definitely longer than they need to be. There's a lot of stuff in there that I feel like I don't need, a lot of repetition, and so overall it's pretty good, but I do feel like I would have liked it more when I was younger, which fair enough, it is a middle grade series. I have read the first 5 books and there are 9 out right now, or I think this is like 8.5. Yeah, so there's 9 plus this half book, so kind of 10 books out, so I guess I'm halfway through. I'm definitely going to be finishing it. I plan on it. I don't know if any more books are coming out in this series or if the 9th book is the final one, but yeah, I'm definitely finishing the series. My niece also has read the series and she really enjoyed it, so of course I'm going to finish it so we can chat about it. Okay, I just have a few more. They're all adult high fantasy, and the first one is The Stormlight Archive by Brandon Sanderson. This is embarrassing. I have read almost all of it. So this series is one of my absolute favorite series of all time. I love it so much. I love the characters, the world, the storytelling, the Sanderlanche in all of these books. It's so good. I adore it. I have read 3.5 of the 4 books, and I don't know why I didn't finish it. I know why I stopped at the time. It's because I wasn't feeling in the mood for it. I was in definitely a reading slump. I just had a lot going on in my life, and I knew that this was a book I was going to love, and so I wanted to read it when I was really able to enjoy it, and then I put it off, and I've never gone back. And now I feel like I'm at the point where I almost need to reread the whole series in order to finish Rhythm of War, and I just don't have time for that. I don't know. I am now debating whether to just read Rhythm of War and finish it, and then reread the entire Stormlight Archive next year in preparation for the 5th book, or to wait and not read Rhythm of War until next year when the 5th book comes out. I don't know. If you have thoughts, if you have suggestions, tell me what to do down in the comments. This next series is so beloved by so many people, but for me, it was fairly average, and that is the Greenbone Saga by Fonda Lee. The first book is Jade City. I have read Jade City. I thought it was okay. I didn't really like the setting or the atmosphere. I didn't like the kind of premise of the mafia families. That's not really something that I ever enjoy in books. And I didn't like all of the characters. So it was very interesting. I thought it was well written. I think a lot of the character work was really good, really well done, and I think she's setting up for something great in these books. I just don't know if it's for me. I think it's fairly rare that I'll read these adult high fantasy series, which are like my area that I love, right? Adult high fantasy is like where I live. And I can read it and be like, I can see that this is phenomenal, but it's just not phenomenal for me, and this is one of those. I do want to continue with it because people absolutely adore the final book. They say they bawled and it's one of their favorites of all time, so I do want to finish it just so I know like what happened. I can like understand things, but I just feel like I'm not in love with it, and I probably will just be listening to them on audiobooks instead of trying to read them. I think that's a better way for me to do with this series. Sorry, the wind is so loud outside. Like, I think it's gonna blow a lot of stuff over. Okay, one of the series I thought I was behind on, I actually am caught up on, so I moved that to a different stack. And the final series on this list is the Drowning Empire series by Andrea Stewart. The first book is The Bone Shard Daughter. So this series is, again, quite nautical. This one is set at, like, with a bunch of islands in an archipelago, this empire, and the king, the emperor, is not maintaining as much as he should, and his daughter is trying to save their kingdom. I am reading this as kind of a channel read along, so I've read the first book in the month of March, and I'm going to be reading the second and the third ones in April and May. So this series is definitely going to be completed this year. I already have plans for it. It's going to happen. And so yeah, this is one that I know I'm going to finish. I've only read one out of the trilogy, but this one is going to be done. Okay, from my count, I have 33 series that I am behind on. I don't even know how that's possible. I also don't know how it's possible to ever catch up. I'm definitely going to have to either finish or DNF a good chunk of series this year if I'm ever to get this to a manageable level. I feel like I need to set a goal for myself for how many series I can be behind on by the end of this year. Should we say 25? I think that's reasonable considering I'm in school right now and I'm very busy. So I think my goal is going to be down to 25 series that I'm behind on by the end of the year. So I have to like DNF, finish, or not start new series because I have so many going. And I have so many where I just have like one book left. So I need to knock those ones out or DNF them and like get this list down because this is not manageable. This is not reasonable. I think it is less than last year though because I did DNF a significant number of series that were on the list from last year. So let me know which one do you think I am most likely to finish this year. Give me your guesses down in the comments and keep an eye out for the rest of the videos talking about the series that I am reading. Thank you all so much for watching and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.